Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over my favorite horror character of all time, Freddy. And here is the Nightmare on Elm Street section that I carved out in my theater room. Now, as mentioned, growing up, Nightmare on Elm Street was my favorite horror franchise and really still is. I do love the idea that they came out with, that whole thing was this guy can get you in your dreams. So whatever happened in your dreams would happen in real life. And plus, being in the dream world, really anything's possible. So really loved that aspect of the movies. Freddy did have a lot of personality. He wasn't like a Michael Myers or a Jason that, you know, if you just got in their path, they would take you out. He was actually, you know, kind of a smart ass and would toy with his victims. And I did appreciate that. Now, I guess Chucky, he was a little bit like that too. But Chucky, I think, was just crazy. Whereas Freddy, you know, he's just evil. So let's kind of just dive into each one of these pieces. We'll start with this ECC bust. Now, I've done a few videos on other ECC pieces, which this Mohawk from Gremlins is from ECC. So isn't this Gizmo? And then I have a Men in Black bust that's not in this area. But they do great work. They work with translucent resin, which does give a pretty lifelike effect. And I think with Freddy here, just the way his skin is all burnt like this, it does look really good. Now, during my home tour video, someone mentioned that they thought that this bust may have been repainted. And it's possible. I did get this secondhand. And the paint job on mine does look a little better than on some of the other busts I've seen coming out of the factory. So if that is the case, that was awesome. But the seller I bought it from never did mention anything, but it does look great. Now, ECC usually does a good job on their bases. And this one, I think it's a pretty neat base. Now, this is based off the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 movie, The Dream Warriors. And if you ever seen this movie, let me see if you can, it's kind of hard to pick up in the camera. You can see it in real life. You can see Freddy at the end there, and you can kind of see him sticking out his glove. But I believe this is based off the scene where they had one kid in the movie that was in a wheelchair. And in his dream phrase, when Freddy got him, he was like on the other end of a hall, and he can see Freddy on the other side. I think actually it first started with a wheelchair. And in the kid's dream, he wasn't in a wheelchair, so Freddy was toying with him that, hey, it's back to the chair when you wake up. And also, this kid knew he can do anything he wanted in the dream world, so he wanted to be a powerful wizard. And I remember in the movie, he started blasting Freddy, and, you know, in the same hallway, and he's really zapping him with his wizard rays. And Freddy is screaming and he's hollering, and the kid's running up to kind of do the final kill on him. And then right when he gets close to Freddy, he just grabs him and says, hey, sorry, kid, I don't believe in fairy tales. And then that was it for that kid. So I'm pretty sure that is what it's based off of. So I do like how they kind of made the base there. Now in this one, they did one arm, which I think was a good idea. You definitely would like to have Freddy's glove hand on your bust. And I'm definitely okay with the design choice of only doing one arm on this one. I think the pose that they did, the way, now you can move the blades a little bit to rearrange it a little bit, but I think the kind of the way that they pictured it in their proto and the way I got it here is kind of the way that you would like to have it. Now the glove itself, it's pretty decent quality. It's not as good quality as the customs that I have. And they have this, like, feels to me just the way his hand is like bent like this, it would be very hard to get this glove off. Originally, I was going to replace it with even a better glove. But in reality, this glove is done pretty decently. I would say I've had a NECA glove before, and it kind of reminds me of what the NECA glove was. You can see on the blades, they did put some aging on it. Get this to focus in a little better. There we go. So yeah, they're not sharp, but they did give kind of I guess a little bit of a rust, dirty effect on it. And then yeah, the actual Freddy sculpt, I think, is done really well. There's a lot of good custom Freddy makers out there. And I've seen some that's topped this, of course, but it's pretty darn good, I think. And the eyes, as you can see, very well done. Definitely looks like real eyeballs. Now, one thing I did was I replaced the hat. The hat was thin, real cheap quality. This one's pretty good. It's not perfect. It's kind of hard to pick up in the camera. There is like some burn marks a little bit on this hat. I think I probably ultimately got to weather it a little bit more. But all in all, for the one Freddy piece I plan on having in the theater room, you know, I think this is a great one to have. And then I also, part of the movie, on one of the scenes, he did have this syringe glove because one of the kids had a drug issue. And of course, Freddy, being a smart ass, said, you know, why fight when we can get high? And then both of his hands turned into this. And then, yeah, ultimately he ended up sticking her with these. This one was made by, let me think of the guy's name. Nightmares Unlimited. You can look him up on Facebook or on Etsy. But I think he's been making the gloves pretty much since I guess these movies came out first in 1984. So it's somewhere around the 80s, I think he's been making them, and he does very, very good work. So I think initially this thing, yeah, kind of magnetizes in right here, but I didn't want to block the syringes, so I just kind of stick it over there, and I think it just kind of adds to the look. And then there was another Etsy seller that in the movie, Nancy took certain pills to keep her from dreaming, and then he made these. So that was kind of a little cheap prop to add to the Nightmare on Elm Street section. And another prop I got was the phone from the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, if you remember, right when Freddy took out Nancy's boyfriend, the phone rang and Nancy answered it. And I think he said something like, "I'm your boyfriend now." And then the tongue stuck out. And that's a play off that part. So I think I got this probably more of a one-off that someone was selling on eBay that they made. But it's an actual phone. It's not exact to the movie, but it's pretty darn close. So I thought it was kind of a cool thing to add to the Nightmare on Elm Street section. And another cool thing was the actual puppet that you saw on Nightmare on Elm Street 3. So one of the kids that he was going after, he had a bunch of puppets hanging in his room. And when he went to sleep, one of those puppets, their head kind of turned into Freddy's head, and then it grew knives out of its hand. So yeah, so that's kind of a play off that part. Now, the guy that sells it on Etsy, it's just the puppet. It doesn't have the strings. It doesn't have whatever you call that on top that holds the strings. I added that stuff myself. But yeah, I'll try to put some links in the description. Not positive if he's still selling it. But if so, I'll put something in the description. And then kind of the last part of the section were some gloves. I just kind of wanted some specialty gloves that you've seen throughout the movies that were a little different than his standard glove. Now, in each of the movies, 1 through 6, the standard glove did change a little bit, but just room-wise, I don't have room to get all the different gloves, so I wanted the ones that were kind of a lot different, like the syringe glove that I showed a little bit earlier. So this first glove is the power glove. And if you guys are not familiar, which if you didn't grow up in the 80s, you probably wouldn't be, but Nintendo at the time came out with their video game Power Glove. So that was a play off that, because that was pretty popular at the time. And in one of the dreams where he was getting a kid, Freddy acted like he was playing, a video game on his Power Glove on this edition. The next glove kind of looks like a standard glove, but this is from the Freddy versus Jason. And this glove is built more like a tank. It's the metal is a lot thicker, the blades are a lot thicker, so it's a pretty cool looking glove. And then the last glove is the new Nightmare movie that they made, the bone glove. Let me kind of pull these out a little bit, get a little better look. So the guy that made the syringe glove also made this power glove, and it does, like all these things do, work. So those control the red lights. That turns on the yellow lights. And then, yeah, that controls the green button. This moves around. I mean, this is actual metal. So, really good job. It pretty much looks just like it did in the movie. And then the Freddy versus Jason glove. You can see how thick those blades are. And just how thick this metal is. But also made from the same guy. Excellent job. Now this one came from a different Etsy seller. I think it was Dwarf Creations. I'll have to look it up and put a link. This is actual silicone. So it's painted really nicely. The blades look nice. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. Yeah, it's pretty well done. So yeah, those are the gloves. So if you guys got any questions, comments, just put it down in the comments section. And thanks for sticking around. Hey guys, I appreciate you watching another video. I'm a huge fan of home theater and these movie replica props. I'm going to put out a couple of videos each week in those areas. And if you're a huge fan like I am, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.